Hey guys, back with another dirty laptop for you today. This time it's a Razer Blade Advance 2018, and I know you already threw up in your mouth a little saying, ugh, great, another gaming laptop that had widespread QA issues. Yep, this time it was the camera, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Today we're exploring a long forgotten ancient ritual of installing Hackintosh and using NVIDIA drivers with it. It's been almost a decade, well, like 8 years since the last time NVIDIA and Apple were friends and made drivers together. That all ended with the final releases of High Sierra. Mojave had already moved on to the Metal Graphics framework and completely removed support of any legacy drivers, unlike Windows, which will cough and wheeze, but still accept your CD burner driver from Windows ME days. I don't know about that, just don't quote me on that. But you know what I mean. Let's do a quick specs rundown. So we have a Coffee Lake i7-8750H. So that's just bog standard for the time of gaming laptops. Everyone really pretty much had it. Single stick of 16 gigs of RAM. You can't take that for granted in 2026. You could just get that anytime back in 2018. 256 gigs of Toshiba NVMe SSD. And then we have a GTX 1070 with Max-Q design, which means it's just lower clock speeds, lower TDP. But it still gets hot enough because, you know, a gaming laptop is still a gaming laptop, you know, if you know, you know. And then of course the integrated UHD 630 graphics, all of them had it ever since 6th gen, 7th gen, 8th gen, on and on and on. It's just the same Skylake CPU. We know what Intel did back in the day. Just for the sake of completeness, here's a HW info to show more information for anybody who cares. Really. So yeah, there's the CPU motherboard, GPU, all the timings and everything. I'm not going to pretend I understand any of this. If anyone was wondering, here it is, just a little preview here. So first we need to check out how bad the cooling is on this. So to get a baseline, I started the Furmark and CPU-Z stress test at the same time. I know it's not scientific, it's not good or anything like that. It's just stress testing both. The CPU did hold a 3 GHz boost for a little bit, but then it just drops down to 2.3 and you can see the TDP and everything like that. They're just sharing it and they can't sustain it. But once you stop stressing the CPU, the GPU seems alright. 16 millisecond frame time, 60 FPS. The CPU does thermal throttle, and of course the GPU would eventually if you cooked it. But yeah, it's a gaming laptop again and it's on fire. You're gonna be sizzling your fingers if you want to work on it. Okay, enough running useless tests and cooking the laptop for no reason. Let's look what's inside. I think this is the cleanest laptop I've ever seen in my life, honestly. It looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. Yet this doesn't have a battery as well, because when I got this laptop, it was a spicy cushion, spicy pillow, so I had to remove the battery, otherwise my house would have burned down. There's that DW1820 that we're gonna have to remove and use something else for our Hackintosh. There's that 16 gig stick. It's like I'm holding gold here. Do the usual stuff of taking out all the screws and then losing half of them, or having some extra screws somehow. And yes, I am aware that I'm not using gloves right now. I don't care. It's fine. It's okay. It's just a bit of dust. It's fine. I'll just wash my hands after, right? Right? Nothing bad will happen? Yeah, that is some good airflow right there. And the quality is about to go down. We're going from 4K to 1080p. Sorry. Let's continue going deeper into this mess. I want to refurbish this completely. Hey, at least the hinge is alright. Seems alright. Definitely not an XPS hinge. That's for sure. Unless this hasn't broken yet. I will say, what is that ribbon cable design? Was there no other way of doing this? Why do we have to do it like this? Just open and close the lid 100 times, 1,000 times, and then the ribbon cable will just snap. And then what is this? What is this bit of sellotape or something? Just to cover up that there's 2 ribbon cables there. I just took that off and cut off this leftover part and stuck it back on. But in the end, I just took it off anyway. We're getting to the Hackintosh part, I promise. We're almost there. Let's enjoy the sights of years and years of crust inside this Razer. This trackpad is probably the best one in terms of Windows trackpads. It's pretty close to a Mac one, and the Mac ones are the best. Back to 4K, we're outside. Yeah, we don't need those thermal pads because I'm putting in a newer drive and it's probably going to be cool and all that, so don't worry about that. Do not clean anything inside your room, just do it outside. It was a windy day, so it was alright. Go get yourself a classic isopropyl alcohol, get an old toothbrush, and just go to town. Get into every single corner, every single bit, get all that disgusting dirt out, clean everything up, and it will look like brand new. Just basically refurbish it. Like, why would you throw it out or do anything? Just refurbish the damn thing. It's not that hard. So putting it back together, I'm putting on some PTM 7950 on the GPU and the CPU. This is pretty much the best I don't know if I have the correct one or the real one, but it has sorted out my GPU heating issues, so it's fine. Works for me. Yeah, these ribbon cables, that ribbon cable right here in the corner, I later found out that the ribbon just snapped there, and that's why the camera wasn't working. So of course it won't work. If you take it apart correctly and put it back together, Windows will boot. Obviously we have to check our work, so do the stress test again. And yeah, the CPU seems to be doing like 92 Celsius, which is, again, it's a gaming laptop. That sounds about right, but it doesn't look like it's thermal throttling. Not as much, not as quick. Still, it's cleaner and it can breathe now, so that's good. So if we want Hackintosh, we have to go back in and change some hardware. First, add the 4 gigs of RAM that I had laying around. This was 2025, so no RAM these days. We can't do anything with this DW1820 because it's a Qualcomm chipset, and Apple never ever supported Qualcomm, only Broadcom. The only Broadcom ones that are pretty good are DW1560s or DW1820As. There is a DW1820 and an 1820A, and it's the A model that you want because that's Broadcom as well. Intel Wi-Fi is also supported with Open Intel Wireless Kext, so look that up as well. And for the storage, I've always had luck with Sabrent. This isn't a guide, but you can copy me, and I've always used Sabrent drives, so they always work, no problem at all. The storage and the Wi-Fi are pretty much the most you can replace in laptops, and if you have a good drive and a good Wi-Fi, you'll get much further than the laptops that don't have that. Okay, hardware should be fine, so now the software side of things. Go to Defender and turn off memory integrity and turn off local security authority protection. Just turn that off and give it a restart. Then go to Stone Evil repository here. It's at early 2019, so 2018, 2019, the same application works. Download that, and in the tools folder, there is a program called Afowin GUI. Open that up and then see that Defender still gets in your way. So you need to disable the vulnerable driver blocking, because this is the best way to back up and edit and upgrade BIOSes, apparently. I don't know what is Razer doing. I don't know if this is the official way, but it is what it is. After that final restart, you'll be able to open the program and save your original BIOS dump. You want that saved, and you want the original one clean, not modified. Get a copy of that, save that somewhere else. Just in case anything gets messed up, you can go back to the original one. Then you want to duplicate that original file and name it like modified or something like that. That's the one we're going to be editing and then later on flashing on top. So open up AMI BCP, open that duplicated file you just made, and this is where this video kind of loses its guide status, kind of derails. You're gonna have to follow the guide on the Stonewall's repository in GitHub. If you follow that to a T, you'll be fine. It's essentially just unlocking some hidden BIOS settings so that you can disable CFG lock and give DVMT a little bit more memory for the GPU and stuff like that. So that's kind of the things that Hackintoshes usually need. It is easier to do on Dells in my experience. Once you go through the guide and made sure everything is done correctly, you can go back to Afowin GUI and flash your modified BIOS on top. It won't flash the entire thing, it'll just flash the modified regions, so you can see it erases programs and then it'll verify on top. And since we're doing such little changes to the original BIOS and making a modified one, it's not that risky. After that, I used OpenCore Simplify just to get a config going. I know the correct way is to go through with the plist editor and going through every single value perfectly, but just use a tool to get you half the way there and then just tweak later on until it's perfect for your own specific configuration. I actually didn't even know about this project, but it seemed to determine pretty much the correct hardware and puts in the correct kexts and everything's close enough to be able to boot. So I'm not complaining, you might as well use the tool. If everything went well and you can boot into the BIOS, congrats, you didn't screw it up. Now you need to disable CFG lock, disable things like security device support, TPM, secure boot, stuff like that. Legacy USB also disabled. Then you go to the system SA agent. You want to give DVMT pre-allocated 64M and the DVMT total GFX mem to max, just basically max those out. Disable VTD for now. You can enable it later with some OpenCore quirks, but just keep it disabled. And just in general, like disable secure boots and fast boot and all these like Windows specific things, software guard extensions, stuff like that. Once you're done, just click save changes and reset and it should restart. Okay, now we should be able to boot off the USB and actually try to install High Sierra. I don't actually have the footage to download macOS High Sierra and put it on a USB stick. The general gist is use Gib macOS or Mist or like Mac USB, something like that. Actually, as I'm editing this, I typed in Gib macOS and it popped up with this obviously vibe coded website. So do not go to this. This does not look good. Tell me you're an infected vibe coded virus website without telling me. 100% free, direct from Apple, secure, you know, like things like that. Like, no, get only GitHub links. I know GitHub is hard to download stuff, but I'll link it in the description. Just use the links in the description. Don't go to gibmacos.com, please. Once you download it, use make install or use Mist or something like that. Put it on a USB stick, then use OpenCore configurator to put your EFI folder on the EFI partition of your USB. Then you should be ready to go. Use something like a Dotania guide. Those are the best. So just follow those. So once you successfully get in, you want to format your Sabrent. So you go to disk utility, make sure to show all devices. So you actually format the entire device, not just the partition. You want to click Sabrent Media, use APFS, call it macOS, and it should be ready to go. Close disk utility, click install macOS, and this installation is just basically as you would on a real Mac. So agree, and then select your freshly formatted Sabrent drive and click install. This will take like 20-30 minutes, something like that. It really depends on how fast your USB is. There'll be a bunch of restarts. It's highly likely if you make it to the installer, it'll install just fine, so don't worry about it. So if everything went well, you should be on the High Sierra desktop, and the first thing you do is go to About This Mac and admire your work, and you can see that it doesn't work. Great, of course, it's never easy with Hackintoshes. You can see we have no identification on the CPU and 7 megabytes on the integrated GPU. That means your GPU stuff isn't working, but it is weird that the CPU isn't detected as well. So this begins the troubleshooting phase. I was trying different EFIs that I could find on the internet, try maybe different SM BIOS or something like that. Obviously get OpenCore configurator so it's easy to mount the EFI. First thing you do is copy your EFI from your USB to the actual Sabrent SSD, so you don't have to use the USB to boot anymore. But you can see the screen is glitching, so maybe it's something to do with the integrated GPUs. Maybe use the ATSP patch, ACPI patch, to disable the integrated GPU or something like that. Of course, installing the NVIDIA driver isn't gonna work. Same thing with iTunes updates or anything like that, just throwing random errors. You can see the Wi-Fi works, so there is a location, but maps can't render it because our GPU is balked. After some Googling, I found out that there is some security updates and patches required. So I tried to install those manually, but they didn't really work. There was some iTunes, Safari and device support updates as well on the App Store itself. Tried installing those, doesn't work. Installing the 006 security update manually also didn't work. I thought the problem was deeper, so I started messing around with the SM BIOS. Maybe OpenCore Simplify gave me a too new of a BIOS, so I tried messing around with that, changing the system IDs, ROMs, MLBs, stuff like that, like the serial numbers. I think I started out with MacBook Pro 15,3 and I tried doing like a 15,2 or something like 14,2, 14,3, something like that. And after some messing around, my MacBook Pro identification became a Mac, but this did somehow pop up the 005 software update. It seems like it must have tricked something or a flag or something like that, and it gave me the software update required for this. And hindsight is 2020. The High Sierra installation by default is kind of broken, so you do need these security updates because they unbreak things for Hackintoshes somehow, which I'm spoiling the end result, but that's just how it worked. So 005 appeared. I already had 005 downloaded manually, so I just installed that on top. But then I realized, why am I installing 005 when I have 006 installed anyway? After the restart, I was generally doing a software update, so it seemed like this might work. But in the end, it just restarted and brought me back to where I was. So then we still had to install it through the App Store way. The App Store version, the 2 gigs instead of 6 gigs, worked somehow. It actually generally started installing, and it took like a good 30 minutes to install. And as soon as I logged in, I could see that the integrated GPU is working. You can see the blur working and the processor getting detected and everything like that. You can see the build number is way longer, way different. Brightness keys just started working automatically. Hackintosh showing the GTX 1070, it's all detected. I did another refresh, it went from 004 to 006. I thought might as well install that. So after a whole another half an hour of installing and getting an even more up-to-date High Sierra install, everything was looking much better. So I could finally install the latest NVIDIA WebDriver for macOS High Sierra. After tens of restarts, one more restart, the blur and everything like that looked very beautiful. And you can see that damn NVIDIA logo in the menu bar. And everything is working as expected. So in 2018, mux switch wasn't really a thing. So NVIDIA GPU is wired for the HDMI and the mini display ports. So you have to use those. Everything else, like the screen itself, is on Intel. After the NVIDIA GPU started working and everything was all good, I logged into my Apple ID to test everything else. So AirDrop works, iMessage works, you can see the camera vibrating as it gets the messages. Location works, everything that you would need on a laptop really. AirDrop being the most annoying one to get working, and that just works natively straight away. Of course, the biggest stress test is a macOS version of Minecraft for this gaming laptop, pulling a good 40, 50, 60 FPS, something like that. I mean, yeah, eventually it stopped rendering the world, but it's playable. You can play Minecraft. It's all good. Apart from Minecraft, the other game that Mac has is League of Legends, and that ran even better. I think it was actually using the NVIDIA GPU to render the game. So yeah, above 60 FPS, that's all you really need. Zoomed in, it's 100 FPS. If you manage to launch into the game, it does say this warning of moving from OpenGL to Metal. And after you finish your game, you will get that Vanguard error because obviously High Sierra doesn't have support for those antiviruses and stuff. So if you want to play League, you have to get into the game really fast. As soon as the client opens, you just have to go into Practice Tool right away. Otherwise, it'll just kick you out. If you manage to get out of the champion select and into the game will run and you can actually play around and see the performance. Practice Tool is the only thing you're going to use really. This is what it looks like if you're not fast enough. It just closes the client and you don't get to go in game. So that's pretty much it, guys. Just a quick little overview and walk down memory lane of how to get your Razer gaming laptop to run Hackintosh and use NVIDIA WebDrivers and maybe run a couple of games. This was recorded in 2025. I must be the slowest YouTuber ever to make a video. Sorry it took this long, took an entire year. I don't know if League would run these days, but maybe someone can try that out. Hope this was entertaining for you guys, and if you like this video, go watch my other ones or the future ones, and please subscribe. Thanks guys, see you in the next video. Actually, a little quick outro. I did have an extra clip of the mini DisplayPort working. So a mini DisplayPort into a DisplayPort cable, still connecting to the NVIDIA GPU, because again, no mux switch, and it works. Of course it works. NVIDIA drivers just worked back in the day. I think, right? I think it was pretty bad back then, but last time I did this, I had a GTX 1080 and I was daily driving Hackintosh High Sierra back then as well. Anyway, see you later, guys.